With rumors going around of him reaching an agreement with the company to come back, Ric Flair's WCW return was all but confirmed for tonight, with Bischoff giving the biggest hint 4 days ago on Thunder in a confrontation with Arn Anderson by mentioning Flair's name for the first time since the lawsuit in April. With Raw coming back to Monday in the first head-to-head competition in 3 weeks, WCW, in addition to the teased Flair return, announced a huge main event with the first Goldberg vs. Sting match for the title tonight. With Bret and Hogan clashing in the last 2 weeks, Bret came out saying that he made mistakes by listening to the wrong people, bringing out Roddy Piper telling Bret to remember where he came from with the history of his family, turning him babyface in the process by asking to give him another chance. A few minutes from the top of the hour, Hogan and Bischoff came out, with Hogan responding to the Flair rumors and the Bret Piper promo, while officially challenging Warrior to the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. Raw, coming back to Monday night for the first time since August 24, opened fast with Steve Austin coming out and McMahon, Taker and Kane already in the ring. Vince hyped a master plan to be revealed at the Breakdown pay-per-view on September 27, guaranteeing that the WWF title is gonna change hands, while adding another stipulation to the Austin-Taker-Kane main event, with Taker and Kane only allowed to pin Austin to win the belt, ending with them laying him out, with McMahon booking the main event of Austin defending the belt against Ken Shamrock for later tonight, as Raw opened in the lead, doing a 3.9 rating. With Raw expected to do near-record numbers coming off the SummerSlam pay-per-view on August 31, the last 2 weeks out of the normal time slot took momentum away from the follow-up, with the company looking to rebound fast, putting on a top pay-per-view lineup on TV, with Rock vs. Kane, Taker vs. Mankind and Hunter vs. Owen all booked for tonight. Going against Raw's opening segment, WCW had a Cruiserweight title match with Juventud and Kidman going 13 minutes, ending with Kidman going over to win the belt to a big pop. Next on Raw was Road Dogg vs. Jeff Jarrett, while WCW had Bulldog vs. Barbarian, and mainly the continuation of the hype to Ric Flair's potential return, with security bringing out someone to a locked room straight from the airport. 2 more key angles on both programs at the same time saw Rock continuing his transition from the Nation, telling them to stay on the side for his match with Kane, while on Nitro Eddie Guerrero and Eric Bischoff continued their work shoot angle that started with Eddie's promo referencing the legit Eric coffee throwing incident, with Bischoff in response sending him to work in Japan. After the last 2 weeks of going up against Kane and Taker separately from the Nation, coming off a career-elevating performance at SummerSlam in the Garden, Rock came out to a huge babyface ovation, with the crowd popping big for him throughout, including a massive reaction for the People's Elbow. Rock and Kane went 6 minutes before Mankind made his first appearance since SummerSlam, hitting Kane with a sledgehammer to the back to set up the Taker-Mankind match in half an hour, with Rock going over as the match gained over 600,000 viewers to a first-hour peak 4.1 rating to put Raw back in the lead. While the Rock vs. Kane match was going on Raw, Warrior made an unscheduled appearance in the ring to bring out NWO Hollywood, accepting Hogan's challenge to officially set up the Hogan vs. Warrior rematch at the Havoc pay-per-view. Early reports on the SummerSlam pay-per-view put it at over 520,000 buys, which will make it one of the biggest shows in company history, with big business continuing an hour after the show went off the air on the Home Shopping Network special, with the company getting over 10,000 calls to sell over $250,000 of merchandise. While not part of the TV special, the WWF continued with the aggressive approach, releasing a limited edition line of t-shirts with Austin Rules on the front and Goldberg sucks on the back to malls across the country. Raw closed the first hour with Owen Hart and Triple H going 5 minutes for the IC title, while at the same time WCW jumped over 600,000 viewers to take the lead back with a 4.3 rating for the Steiner handicap match in Giant vs. Smiley. Raw continued with big star power matches, opening the second hour with Undertaker vs. Mankind going 7 minutes in a hardcore match, ending up with Rock interfering, coming out from the dumpster to bail out Mankind, while at the same time on TNT Scott Hall came out for a promo continuing to work the gimmick, drinking throughout. After both shows each won 2 quarters during the first hour, the top of the hour segments all both level on a 4 rating, with big segments that will break the tie coming up in the next 40 minutes. While Raw was airing on Saturday in the last 2 weeks, WCW going unopposed on Monday broke every overall rating record in cable TV history, including the biggest ever number coming on August 31st with the first time show entered a 6 rating range. Raw had Edge vs. Gangrel next going 4 minutes in the start of the formation of the Brood, while WCW had Scott Hall vs. Lex Luger. The Hall and Luger match turned into an angle with Hall coming out in no condition to work, playing off the perceived lifestyle of Hall, with Luger making several work-shoot comments telling Hall that he's going to get someone hurt, bringing out Nash and then Bischoff to take him out, with Hall refusing to go, asking Nash where he was when his life was falling apart, with the segment doing the biggest viewership spike of the night, jumping from a 4 to 4.8 rating. J.J. Dillon and Arn Anderson came out first to set the stage for the Horseman introduction, with Raw having Mark Henry in handicap match against X-Pac and Chyna, along with the start of a Sable vs. Jacqueline evening gown match to go against the most hyped quarter on the show for WCW next. Arn Anderson was in the ring for the big segment of the night, with the crowd as they did all night starting a big Flair chant. Anderson introduced each member of the Horsemen to announce the reformation of the group before calling out 4th member Ric Flair to one of the biggest ovations of all time. Flair, after the last 6 months of personal back-and-forth lawsuits with the company, including him saying that he's the only wrestler in history to be banned from the business in an interview just a few weeks ago, thanked the crowd for the response before going over to Eric Bischoff in one of the most anticipated promos in wrestling TV history. Flair started by mentioning Bischoff's backstage comment on Anderson's retirement segment last year being a great TV moment, saying that it wasn't done for TV as it was real, going on to unload everything he wanted to say to Eric publicly in the last 6 months and for years before it, cutting one of the most memorable promos in history as the crowd exploded for the Flair-Bischoff exchange, kicking off the program with the lines of "work and shoot" said to be blurred in every promo. The Flair Horseman segment jumped over 700,000 viewers to a 5.4 rating, the highest rated quarter of the night on both shows by a wide margin. Raw's final quarter saw Shamrock and Austin coming out at around 10:50 with no commercial breaks left, so the match can go uninterrupted to close the show. The first Austin vs Shamrock match with 24 hours of hype after Shamrock's challenge last night to close Heat, went 12 minutes in the main event title match, with the entrances and first half of the match bumping Raw over 1.2 million viewers to a peak 4.9 rating. While at the same time WCW took 2 commercial breaks and dropped to a 4.3 after the Flair Horseman segment with Page coming out for commentary, as Sting and Goldberg made their entrances 3 minutes from the top of the hour, with the match set to cross over 11 p.m. The Austin vs Shamrock match continued in the overrun, with the final 5 minutes of the match along with the post-match brawl of Taker and Kane interfering for the DQ, saw Raw drop from a show-high 4.9 rating to a 4.1 going against the big Sting-Goldberg match head-to-head, with Raw returning to its Monday night's time slot drawing a 4 rating in hopes of building momentum back up in the upcoming weeks on the back of the loaded program. The first ever Goldberg vs Sting match in one of the biggest matches in show history went 8 minutes in the overrun, picking up big with almost 2 million viewers within 10 minutes to a peak 6.1 rating. With 2 of the biggest babyfaces of all time against each other, the match saw a split crowd that popped huge for both throughout, ending with Goldberg going over after Hogan's interference, with Sting having the sharpshooter locked in, the first sign of Goldberg in jeopardy in his career so far a year after his debut. WCW, with one of its biggest shows of the year, won the night with a 4.5 rating, taking its winning streak to 4 head-to-head weeks in a row.